Welcome to this special episode of Erasing Shame. I am your host, DJ Chuang, and I'm joined with Jiwon Woo from Mustard Seed Generation. And they are an incredible organization, ministry, nonprofit that has mobilized Korean American Christian mental health in so many ways. And today we're going to be talking about their church leaders and pastors training that's coming right up through a cohort model. So Jiwon, thank you for joining me and talking about Mustard Seed Generation.
Thank you so much, GTA, for having myself here. And hello, everyone. I'm honored to share more about the church leader training program that MSG launched last year.
Yes, and you're the program director currently, and you've had some other roles over the years that you've been with Mustard Seed Generation. But today we just want to talk about this mental health training. You just mentioned it was just launched last year. So how did this training come about and get designed, and who does it serve the best in terms of pastors and church leaders?
Oh, thank you so much for asking great questions. A lot of people like yourself wondered and questioned how did we even started this program and was it designed? And it actually goes back to the summer 2021. Our board members, staff members have been prayerfully discussing, and we had so many meetings, and we ended up coming up with our very new mission statement. And I'd like to share the new mission statement, if that's okay. And
Please
our
do.
mission statement is, thank you, MSG exists to eradicate barriers to mental health that increase life dissatisfaction, family dysfunction, and suicide in the Korean American community. So MSG provides culture-specific training to increase the mental health literacy of Korean American churches, families, and youth. So this is our very new mission statement. And that was during COVID, when COVID was rampant. And a lot of churches were turning into online, virtual, and it has been past about a year. And we recognize that a lot of Korean Americans and a lot of actually just people in general were quietly and silently suffering with mental health issues. And at the same time, that there was a barrier where church leaders or people who regularly connect with those individuals feel ill-equipped. And especially for Korean Americans, I have recognized that Pastor Jin might have shared in his previous episode, but a lot of church leaders, according to the study, that 70% of Korean Americans have responded that they attend to church regularly and they identify themselves as churchgoers. And at the same time, I thought this number even was pretty shocking. It is pretty big, but so they regularly rely on churches and church communities, and also that ends up with church leaders. But at the same time, that church leaders feel like they do not have the resources to share with the church leaders whenever the congregation or individuals come up to them and share about their mental health related issues, and they don't have the language. They feel ill-equipped again. So that is how we realized and recognized that church leaders are the people who are serving Korean American individuals at the front line, but at the same time, they are in thirst for learning and finding more resources. So we need the urgent need to create a program and a safe space where church leaders can be vulnerable and learn more about the mental health and just being empowered. So we invited some professionals who are really passionate about Korean American mental health and raising the awareness. So we made a programming committee within Mustard Seed Generation, made up with mental health professionals and church leaders, and we took several weeks and time to talk more about what's so needed. And we realized that if we do not hear directly from church leaders, then this will be not as impactful. So what we did after several discussions was that before we launched this program, we really have to readjust based on what church leaders are saying. So what we did was we created the 18 item survey where we distributed to church leaders bilingually so that first gen or Korean speaking church leaders can respond as well. So
that's good.
in total, in total, 94 church leaders completed this survey, and it's more about what are the stumbling blocks, or have they got counseling before, or they have to, did they discuss mental health even when within their church settings, and those items can be more found in our website as well, which is under our resources. So so if you're interested, you can go check it out as well. But it was distributed widely across the United States. And we also found out that a lot of first gen actually responded to this survey, which we are really appreciative. So the responses really reflected that they needed a certain topics, and they were in thirst of more certain topics, which could be the depression, anger management, suicide, Korean American youth, burnouts are like the burning topics for them to learn more. So we readjusted our program and then got to launch this amazing program that has been started last year. So these are the brief but long history of how we designed this mental health training program.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you for taking that step of faith and putting in the good effort towards serving such a desperate and urgent need. Pastor Jin is one of your board members, and we had him on a previous episode of Erasing Shame, which we'll add into the show notes so that people can listen to about Mustard Seed Generation and many other things that you're doing. Because mental health training is so needed, because pastors are often the first person, especially as Asian Americans and Korean Americans, will first go to a pastor than they would go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. For one, it's free. For two, it's really hard to get an appointment with a professional mental health care person. And then there's the shame and stigma associated with that. And pastors feel a little safer. And the need has become more urgent with COVID, with the social isolation and other stressors, with anti-Asian hate. And then when you look at South Korea, the suicide rate is the highest amongst developed nations. So there's a lot of tragedy, but the church can really be a place of hope. And pastors already know they're dealing with it. I know when I was pastoring and going through seminary, I was dealing with people's very real struggles, mentally and emotionally, but we only had the Bible, and we didn't have the professional training that's also needed to really help people heal and experience support through these hard times. So as you educated and trained the pastors and church leaders and put together some the key ingredients based on your survey and your research, how was the response? And what kind of adjustments are you making as you prepare to launch this second round?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you again for asking. So before I go and jump into the responses, what our ultimate hope was that we really hope that this mental health training program for Korean American church leaders can provide knowledge and tools for their churches to be a safer place of healing, support, health, and even raising some warriors who will rescue others. And I think one of the privileges that I got to experience as programming manager as this role was that I got to hear the firsthand response from the church leaders through one-on-one meetings and through their survey submissions as well. So there were actually a lot of beautiful ones, but I came up with 3 transformative changes that I got to witness And I recognized that God was really working with them and through amazing people. And the first one could be there were quite a lot of churches who reached out to us about creating the mental health committee. So they updated on us that they have created mental health committee within their churches, which
Oh,
was
that's great.
fascinating.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. So in the very last portions of the training at the very end final week, they really get the encouragement and they have to go through the activity proportion where they have to envision themselves in a church where they can take the practical steps. And one of them that the lecturers and the speakers accentuate is that they really have to start establishing mental health committee. If you are passionate, just gather with a group of people and see if there are any local resources that they can combine so that they can share with the church congregation and church members. So that was so encouraging to hear. And because of the confidentiality issue, I won't share the specific church, but one church in Atlanta created mental health committees specifically for the women in 50s to 60s, because they have recognized that they are the ones who are taking so many hats and they're feeling burnt out, taking care of their child, including their grandchildren and also their parents. So, like,
Oh,
they are actually weighing too much on them. So, they saw the urgent need to better support the females who are in the age range of 50s to 60s, which was so moving. And having even creating that space intentionally to check in with those people was so needed. And one of the members actually shared that people outside of the church who do not join their church but who are within their community have joined that mental health community and felt that they are seen and encouraged. And even sharing their struggles together really helped them reflect and just digest their feelings.
amen. That is
Yeah.
fantastic. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not only caring for people that are part of your church, it really is an outreach to serve the community and therefore demonstrate the love of Christ, and people will experience more of God's love.
Yeah, that was so moving. And the second one was actually in the spirit of May, being Mental Health Awareness Month.
Hmm.
I know that a lot of us might know, but the May is like a specific month where we really talk about mental health and raise the awareness. And in light of that, one church in Boston will launch a mental health seminar series within each week. So each Sunday, they will bring mental health professionals who are also passionate about serving Korean American churches. Will be there, and the professionals will share about their knowledge and their ways to better support and engage with mental health about 30 minutes. So that was also a transformative change that we got to witness. And the last one is actually also amazing, which is another church created a separate budget for church leaders to receive counseling. And I thought that was such a needed change. And whenever it comes to budget, that really kind of reflects and amplifies how and what topics is the church really focusing on. And when even the slight or small budget, whether it's small or big, when the budget is specifically used for church leaders counseling session, I think that really shows that the church is really modeling what is mental health, and really showing that getting the counseling is not a problem. And it also encourages the church community that they can go and reach out for a professional help. So I thought these three were the amazing, beautiful responses that I got to hear and receive.
That is amazing. And that is so needed. And I'm so glad to hear that this training wasn't just educational, where you inform the head. You actually provided space for, I guess you call it coaching and practicing and figuring out what it is that the church can do now with the training you've had, with the resources they have in terms of people and the opportunities and the needs that are in their churches. And they took those steps of faith, and we have amazing things happening. So thank you. Thank you for being a part of that. And you're putting together another training session, a cohort. Tell us about what that looks like for people to sign up, and what can they expect in terms of time commitment.
Yeah, so thank you, DJ, for sharing your thoughts and love towards our program as well. The first cohort of this year, 2023, will be launched in this very upcoming April. So it'll be April 10th. And because this is a 7-week long program, it will go and continue until May 26th. And yeah, the fun update is that the very original price of this program is $399, but for early bird registration, it'll be ongoing until March 17th. So if you apply and register anytime before March 17th, you can get $100 discount, which is $299. And I do love to share that there will be a very special extra discount code for all the listeners for Erasing Shame, which is yes. Yes, we'll be using the code Erasing Shame 50 so that you can get another extra $50 discount.
Wow.
So,
well, thank you for your
please.
generosity.
No, of course. So if you like to spread the word, please use the code, all in lower cases without spaces, Erasing Shame 50 for another $50 discount.
Oh, fantastic. Wow. So March 17th is the deadline to sign up. It's a 7-week course. And how does the course work? Is it a Zoom call every week at a certain time? Or is there an on-demand portion and some live interaction and homework? Talk us through that a little bit so people can manage their schedule, because this is really important training and you don't want to miss any of those weeks, right?
Right. That's a great question. I should have explained that initially, but from April 10th to May 26th, what will happen among those 7 weeks is that the church leaders will take approximately an hour long lectures. And it's not just 1 hour long lecture. It is actually divided into several topics. So each week there is a bigger umbrella topic that's gonna let the church leaders to focus on, and in that week, within that 1 week, they can take 1 hour long lectures all together, and you can take it whenever you can. So we also recognize that a lot of church leaders have so many schedules. So whenever it's flexible, you can take whenever it is needed. So it's really up to you. So it'll be more of a asynchronous proportion. And for the synchronous proportion, we heavily recognize the need where church leaders have to gather in a small group with mental professionals. So this is where the small group session comes in. So on a weekly basis, date and time are already set, and they meet up in the same day, same time, once each week, and it'll be an hour long. And people have been saying an hour is too short for them. Like they needed more time to share and connect and just empathize with one another. So church leaders from different cities. So this is one of the beautiful things about virtual settings, like the churches from all across the world can even join. So they join together, and it's a set small group, and they will be meeting the same people for the 7 weeks to create a safer space, actually. And there will be a small group leader, and the small group leader is always a Korean American mental professional who are really passionate about serving and supporting church leaders. So you can also think of it as another counseling session, because they will provide professional knowledge and resources as much as they can. So That's a fun proportion. So, ultimately, to summarize, people will be spending approximately 2 hours. So 1 hour is for getting the lectures, and another hour is for the small group that will be held
Wow.
through Zoom. Mhm.
Well, I think that's manageable. I mean, 2 hours a week for something this valuable. Thank you for the extra discount. And I'm just going to read through the topics that happen over those 7 weeks so that people can kind of just have this in their mind. And then, of course, they can go to the website, which is learn.mustardseedgeneration.org.
Mhm.
And it'll be at the homepage of mustardseed.org
Right.
as we release this episode. And
Yes.
it's also going to be in the show notes at Erasing Shame. So week 1 is Korean American Christian mental health. Help us understand the context and the need and the urgency for this kind of training. Week 2, marital conflict, divorce, and family relationship. And as Korean Americans and Asian Americans, we're very much family bound, and yet it's not easy. And so
Right.
we're going to learn some tools on how to manage some of that. Mental health of Korean American youth. We very much care about our youth. Anger management, depression, and suicide, week 4. Week 5, self-care and soul care. Week 6, creating a mentally healthy church. Oh, that's beautiful. You actually create a context for shaping culture and what it looks like in a church, and then establishing a mentally healthy church in week 7. And I'm guessing that's where you talk about, well, what does it look like to have a care ministry? To have these small groups, then it sounds like you're either going to have a lot of trainers and counselors to facilitate those discussions, or do you have a certain capacity that you can have? Space limited for this thing? I mean, just give us a sense of how quickly should people sign up so that we get into this cohort starting in April.
Yeah, for now, we actually have several spots, and please feel free to go sign up whenever your heart is telling you to do. And if you have financial issues, please do not hesitate to reach out to us, because we don't want financial barrier to be the reason why you're not taking the program. So we will make sure to provide scholarships for those who are in need. But in terms of small groups, we make it as a ratio as 8-1. So if there is one mental health professional, 8 small group participants can join. So we try to keep it up with that number so that everyone has a option to join the room and just enjoy each other. And if it is too much, we know that an hour could be too short for them as well. So we try to make it as 8-1 ratio. And right now we have 3 small groups available at the moment. So if you are willing to join, please feel free to go ahead and join the first cohort.
Well, this is a tremendous opportunity. Thank you again, Jiwon, for representing and being the program director at Mustard Seed Generation, putting together this very, very valuable mental health training for church leaders, which includes pastors as well as lay leaders that can really bring this to their church community as well as their neighboring community, because we all struggle in life, and to have the right tools and the help and to really experience God completely, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and with each other is just how we experience more of God and the abundant life. So again, the show notes will be at erasingshame.com. mustardseedgeneration.org is the URL. Sign up for this mental health training. Remember the discount code for an extra $50 off. So listen carefully, rewind, and type that in. And if they run out of space, I'm sure you'll keep a waiting list and maybe spin up another cohort to meet the demand, because we need this. The church needs this. Thank you for providing for this. You've made it available bilingual as well. There's 4,000 plus Korean American churches. So let's see God work in our midst. Thank you, Jiwon. God's blessing to you and Mustard Seed Generation.
Thank you so much, DJ.
Thank you for listening to the Erasing Shame podcast. Check out the show notes at erasingshame.com.
and subscribe to our email for updates. We would love to hear from you, so please add your comments at our website or on social. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any podcast app, and you can also subscribe on YouTube or follow on Facebook. Please add a rating and reviews so we can reach more people with our message of health, hope, and compassion. This podcast is the digital outreach of Christian Asian mental health.